Hey guys, we are living the most authentic life today with Dr. Viviana Coles. She is a marriage and family therapist, but specifically she's a sex therapist. And as a Catholic girl,
you're a Catholic woman, but yeah.
That was born in the 60s. I have never publicly spoken about sex. So this is like getting me out of my comfort zone to talk about something, but it's Valentine's season and we're all talking about relationships more openly. We're talking about feelings and connection. Now more than ever, connection is important. And the most connected can be with someone is to be in love with them. And oftentimes that involves sex. So today we're going to dive into that.
Yeah.
Thank you
for having me.
No.
This is, my eyes are just going around your boutique and in you. And I'm really excited to be here and talk about all things love. And I'm excited to be a part of your new season.
So you have been a part of a lot of seasons on TV.
Yeah.
Tell us about your reality TV journey.
So I started off doing a lot of local TV here in Houston. I'm from Houston, born and raised, went to Duchesne Academy, and just love being here. My husband's from here as well, so we are staples in the Houston community. And I was doing a lot of local TV, loved it. Houston Life, I was on the lot, Channel 13, all of them. And I was starting to get recognized for my efforts of talking about really tough, sensitive subjects like we're going to do today on TV, and did it with ease. I really enjoyed doing this, and I hope it shows. But so eventually, New York, California, they all kept coming, and they came calling, and I was able to get my eyes and myself in front of the camera and doing all of that. And when it came to Married at First Sight, it was after like 4 or 5 years of being in contact with production companies and nothing ever coming of it. Now, at that point, I was able to say, yes, I'm available. And it was like 5 days before I was filming that I signed my contract, and I was on for 6 seasons, decided not to renew my contract so that I could go on a book tour.
Yes.
My book, The 4 Intimacy Styles. And of course, being a mom of 2, having a really thriving practice, Houston Relationship Therapy, and having my hands in all sorts of projects, it was just time. But I really enjoyed it, a lot of fun. It was kind of wild, but love is. And 2 people meeting and marrying at the same time is bound to bring some ups and downs. And so it was just, it was a really great experience. And now I'm the resident intimacy expert over at Box 26. So I'm there twice a week.
Intimacy expert. I like that.
Yeah.
So Rob has never been shy about talking about sex or intimacy. In fact, he likes to make innuendos in our videos.
Let's get this straight. We have had sex one time. It was just to have our daughter, and that was it. And other than that,
it's all in here.
My father-in-law, Vito, promised, that was it. Sicilian father-in-law and mother-in-law, Irish. Nope, that's it.
Okay.
But hypothetically, we can speak.
Hypothetically. Friends are doing it.
Yeah.
Friends are doing it. Other people are doing it. Well, and when it comes to talking about sex, it isn't something that most people are very prone to do, unless prompted in therapy, which is what I do all day. So I'm pretty used to it. But a lot of people are just really out for connection, like you said. And connecting allows them to live a life that is more fulfilling. It feels more satisfying. It's happier. I think that's one of the reasons that I really do try to stay with relationship and sex therapy, is because it is so rewarding to help people find a partner that they can then, it's like the sky's the limit. Y'all are a great testimony to that. Whenever you are with someone that you really enjoy and respect is a big one, and trust, I mean, it feels like nothing can stop you. And I really enjoy that, and I enjoy being a part of that. And if people are losing that or never had it to begin with and want to build it up, that's when they typically come to see me. And sex is a part of showing someone that you want a different relationship with them. I often get asked the question, why is sex so important? It's the only thing, if you really think about it, it's the only thing that you do with your partner, with your romantic partner. If you're in a committed relationship, exclusive. And so You can sleep with your dog. You can even go on girls' trips, and they might see you naked. Your doctor might see you naked.
Your guy that helps you with your fashion, who doesn't like women, but you run around him naked.
Todd Ramus in my closet helping style me. He's not looking at me that way, but we are not. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that happens. But this is the one thing that you really do share. And so for that reason, it is sacred. And so when it's not there, it can kind of make you feel like you're roommates or you're just kind of business partners.
Roommates and business. No, we see that a lot in our industry.
Yeah.
When we sell them the diamond, and then when it doesn't work out and they haven't figured out how to get their communication back, we buy the merchandise back, whatever it may be, from jewelry to handbags or whatever. But it's communication, and
not being on the same page, right?
Sometimes you got to bite your lip and be happy instead of being right every time.
Oh, that's important.
I have a wife that never makes mistakes, so it's easy for me.
It is very easy for him.
And as I tell everybody, we've had a 7-year great marriage.
We've been together 18 years, but 7 of the 18.
No, I'm just teasing. But
I heard something last night that reminded me of what you said. She said, I sometimes might not be right, but I'm never wrong.
No, so I did some cheating. I looked in your bio and I looked at some fun things.
That kind of cheating, I'm totally fine.
And
you're like, you're going to announce this on air?
I was like super excited. I go, you have a topic you wrote about cuffing. I'm going, is that handcuffing?
Oh, yeah. Well, tell her that.
So I speak Spanish. I lived in Mexico, and I love the humor of the Mexican language, the Mexican Spanish language, because the word for wife is esposa, but the word for handcuff is esposas.
There's a lot there.
There's a lot there.
A lot there to unpack. Okay.
But we're going to segue past that to the cuffing. Yes. And you said
we're
fall.
In the middle of cuffing
I had to Google what cuffing was. I don't even know what that.
For a long time.
Okay.
So tell us about cuffing.
Yeah.
So we're in the middle of cuffing season. It starts off in late October and then goes through till Valentine's Day. And basically it's a time where being connected and cuffed to and connected to somebody else in a relationship is kind of on the brain because the holidays are starting to roll around and you don't want your family or your friends to be like, what's going on? When are you going to, when are you going to find someone? What's going on in your love life? And that, of course, then starts to be internalized nearing Valentine's Day when you want to go and enjoy a romantic time with somebody that you care about. So this is the time. You've got about a month left, maybe less, to get cuffed. But I do, actually, now that you think about cuffs, so using handcuffs in intimate moments, it's not something that you only have to use with a partner. You can use it by yourself. And Bloomy is a brand that I'm a resident intimacy expert for, and I love all of their products. But they just came out with some cuffs that don't require a key. They're not metal. They're silicone. They don't pull on your hair. They don't hurt your skin. And you can use them by yourself just to experience different sensations. Because whether you're single and, you've got Valentine's Day coming up, it's all about love, you can enjoy and pleasure yourself. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about during the season. They don't think about all the singles. Well, there are a lot of singles and they still deserve pleasure. So whether you're with your partner and want to use cuffs to kind of try a few things that maybe they wouldn't normally just do willingly, you want to maybe ease into it. Of course, consent is important, but that's another type of cuffing, and it's a good one too.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd talk about that one at all.
I'll be sending you a pair of their cuffs. It's called Link. How nice is that?
It is. Okay, so we had a therapist that told us that the best relationships are autonomy with a connection. And that really stood with me because both he and I are such strong individuals, and sometimes being with someone strong is hard, but there is the other side of that is another thing I added on to it was if you can still take influence from your partner while being autonomous, that's when it really works. So there's a lot of layers to it because he's on his own. Pre-COVID, he was traveling 200 days. People would go, how do you trust him? I'm like, how can I not? What would I do if I didn't trust him?
What's the alternative?
Yeah. What does that look like to me? And I never had that feeling. There's a lot of gut. I mean, I'm bringing up a lot of things. But I think for us, I was 37, he was 39, it was super important for both of us being strong personalities to find someone that would let us be autonomous on our own, but then come together and still enjoy each other. And because
And
I
have to
waited,
work together
yeah, and that's
day in, day out.
so
It
much
can be-
joy, so much enjoyment, so
All right,
much.
hold on, I'm going to say it again. Look, I love her every day, but there are some days I don't like her, and I think that's okay. And when we don't like each other, we just go away till we can come back and make it work. But
Because we have other things we're interested in. And
Exactly.
the person, I was talking to a couple people on our trip this weekend, and a couple were divorced. And I said, I think the hard thing for singles is people wait to find someone that can fill them up. And you cannot be empty
100%,
and have
yes.
someone else fill you up. And when you're at your worst and you got to do the work yourself.
Well, I wrote about that in my book.
Okay,
it's actually a piece of a piece of a book, Shel Silverstein's book, The Missing Piece, or writings, The Missing Piece, and it's all talking about how you can't just be, you can't be a circle with a wedge cut out trying to find the other wedge because you'll outgrow each other. But if you are both separate, if maybe one is a full circle and one is a wedge, the more you work together, you'll both end up being circles that can then travel together. And that's the piece that I think a lot of people are missing, especially singles today. They're looking for someone who's just going to fit right into their lives. But we're always evolving.
Our life's going to be different.
We don't live in tiny communities. We don't. We're not unaware of so many things. Our brains are constantly just blowing, right? And so this idea that you can just be yourself and find somebody else who's just going to want you the way that you are, that works for about 0.1 seconds, because you're already changing, you're already growing.
Exactly.
And that's the piece of being a power couple that everybody tends to want to be, but they miss out on, is this idea of like full on respecting somebody else's autonomy and knowing that everybody has the choice to make wrong choices, but that you will value the sum of the whole more and not make those choices when everybody could. Anyone could easily cheat on somebody else. We see it all the time. I was just listening to this podcast that I love, and it's all about people getting found out, and it's like my guilty pleasure. And anybody can make those decisions, but we don't, because we take a look at our relationships. My husband and I have been married for almost 17 years. This idea is like, we're stronger together. There's nothing that I'm looking for elsewhere. And if you do start to look elsewhere and you are starting to wonder, could I be better? Look at yourself first. Don't look for somebody else.
Absolutely.
They're just passing through. So many times I work with people through affair recovery. 70% of couples that experience affairs actually stay together.
70?
Wow.
A lot more
Interesting.
than mine, actually. I think.
Right, because you can help them process that it's a symptom. It's not necessarily...
always, right? It's not always the end. But for a lot of people, it is. I want to emphasize, don't do it.
You're not condoning it.
You're dropping a bomb in your relationship.
Right.
And there's a lot of damage that comes of that. But there is a way to get through it. And what I'm always telling them is that other person that you're with, that you're wanting to be with, you're going to come up with the same issues. Everybody has something.
We call it the devil you know versus the devil you don't know.
Exactly.
Not that he's a devil, but...
Everyone has something that they're going to have to work through. At least with your partner, the realm of possibility. Somebody else, you got a whole bag you don't even know about.
We have sold more than a dozen times. People have gotten divorced, and then they got back together again and got married again.
Because they went out and dated and realized it wasn't quite...
Grass isn't greener.
But a relationship, you'd only have the two of us. We also have the extended families that I call the gift with purchase to deal with. And I saw that you had a whole thing on in-laws and how to deal with in-laws.
That's been a big part of getting together with someone with strong relationships with the family.
Which can usually be a plus to have strong relationships with your family. And I think in Houston, we see that, I know I see that a lot more in my office than I think my colleagues do in other states.
Oh, interesting.
In other cities, because we have such culturally diverse families, and there are a lot of ethnicities.
Oh, and then culturally, it's we do it this way, we do it that way, and that's not the way we do it.
Right. And Americanized couples versus non, and I mean, there's just a lot there. I will tell you though that if you have wonderful in-laws, make sure you tell them that, because you don't often hear the good things about in-laws. You always hear the bad things. Or if you are a good in-law, look at what you're doing and encourage your friends who are maybe a little off or troublesome in-laws, meddling in-laws, and know that there's no right way. So if you're giving your opinion over and over again, just know if it doesn't work, you're to blame.
So sliding back towards sex, we had this thing called deposits and withdrawals. And we talked about, because sometimes he would do something, not sexually for me, but
kinky.
It can be. Exactly.
Okay.
It can be kinky. But for us, most of it was not kinky. Like it would be, if I go to this black tie charity event for you, just know that I don't want to go this night, and it's a big withdrawal. So we even kind of worked on a contract. He wanted to go fishing. I was upset that he went fishing during what I thought was 4th of July and family time. So then, and he would say, but you make me do this. And so we kind of sat down.
Black tie balls where I have to put on the tuxedo.
I know, it makes him crazy.
It's like, I'm good for one or two, but after the 4th or 5th, I'm like, this is cool and unusual. So
negotiating it out got us to more sex because we weren't fighting as much. I mean, you can fight and make up, but it is hard sometimes to be intimate with someone that you're really mad at, to separate the emotional from the physical.
I think, well, it depends on who you're married to, because what I found is that a lot of people end up, if they are the kind of person who needs emotional intimacy in order to experience or want physical intimacy, usually the other person is like, well, I need physical intimacy
to be emotional
connected to you. So that kind of ends up being this whole,
it's a tail wagging the dog.
The chicken or the egg?
Yeah,
first?
What ended first?
But what I will say is that usually emotional intimacy wins out. Because if you can experience emotional intimacy with someone, you're likely going to have more pleasurable physical experiences. Whereas if you're more into the physical intimacy stuff, you're not going to feel as much safety without the emotional. Does that make sense?
Right, it does.
So if you're having to pick one, err on connecting emotionally first, and that will likely bring up more physical versus physical bringing emotional.
So something that I had shared with a few girlfriends of mine that were really in bad places with their husbands and shared with me, I said, just try having sex with them more. Try being more intimate with them. And they were like, why would I do that? I don't like him. And I said, because he can't be nice to you without knowing that you care about him, and maybe he doesn't feel cared about without that. And
there's a lot underneath what you've said, because that's basically what I see every day.
Which is kind of what you were saying earlier.
It's a desire discrepancy. One person has sex more than the other. Sometimes, and this is exactly what the 4 intimacy styles are about.
What are the 4 intimacy styles?
Yeah, tell us that.
Bonding, release, giving, and responsive.
Okay.
So people who tend to be... and this is not like the 5 love languages, which, by the way, if you're looking for emotional intimacy, you go to the 5 love languages. You're going to get there. Take their quiz. This is the answer to, okay, we know all that, but what about sex?
Okay, good. All right.
That's the 4 intimacy styles. And there's a free quiz online, 4intimacystyles.com. So what you want to do is have all 4 of those represented in every or nearly every sexual experience in order to have long-lasting and long-term connection physically.
All right.
So you want to have bonding, you want to experience release, you want to be giving, and you want to be responsive. Now, bonding is for people who say, in order for me to feel bonded to you, how I experience love is through sharing sex with you. And now sex can mean anything. It does not have to mean intercourse.
Right.
So that's another thing. We always need to define what sex means when we're talking about these things, especially if you're struggling. Giving, let's go with release next. So release is the person who experienced the euphoria, the tension release, the stress reliever, and can attribute it now to their partner being a part of that. That's when you're like, oh, I feel so good and thank you. That's what that's
you
about.
did that for me
You're a part of me feeling
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
Okay. Who doesn't want to be a part of somebody feeling good, right? And then giving is when you experience almost like this sense of, I love giving you pleasure. It makes me feel good. I feel love when that happens. I feel loved. I feel like I'm loving. And then responsive is for the people who say, you know what, I don't often think about sex just like on my own, but when my partner brings it up, I'm like, okay, I can do that. And then when they get into it, they feel that responsive desire, which is, oh, I like this. Kind of like when you go to the gym, you didn't want to.
But then you're like, oh, I'm here.
Oh, this feels good. I like this. Oh, why don't we do that more often? Same kind of thing. So you want to be able to experience at least 25% of, or hopefully 25% of each of those. And that's what the quiz can help you to do. It's in the book. It's also online to help you to realize what percentage of each you're already at, so you know which ones you need to work on. But ideally, and I've been doing this for a long time, over 20 years, ideally you experience all of it and round out your intimacy style. So different than the 5 love languages where you have to learn your partner's and they need to learn yours.
Well, kind of along the lines of, from my research about living your best life, coming alive, which could include sex, it should include sex. And
health benefits.
Yes.
So great for you.
That you have such a connection with somebody, and you can feel that connection because of what you go through together in your moments together. And then you can acknowledge it and say, wow, I feel connected, and there's so many, it's because of what you did to help me get there. And I think sometimes that's for us, is him knowing and reading me. And I also love like this candle idea that you're talking about. We finally worked out our rhythm. We've been together 18 years, but I feel like in the beginning we couldn't. Now we can just be like, you want some tonight? No. Do you want some? Well, his answer is always yes, but you know, that's a boy.
Is it always yes? Because that's not
always.
typical.
No, I just said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been once or twice I've said no.
Well, and this is an issue because I see a lot of men experiencing erectile dysfunctions, different ones, premature, or we call early ejaculation, delayed ejaculation, performance anxiety. And it does come back to this idea that I have to remind them they're not robots. But a lot of women are socialized, and even men are socialized to believe that there is only one way they should be, and that's always ready for intercourse. And that they should always have an erection ready when their partner needs one.
Oh, that's true. That's more pressure on them because that's what, whereas women can say they're tired. They even make those little pillows that you can put on the bed that say yes or no.
Right. And it can cause.
Have you seen those pillows? It's pretty funny.
Couples, when a very stressed out husband will say, oh, not tonight. It's almost like, wait, what?
What did I do to not make you attracted to me? What have I done? Yes.
Or what's wrong with you that, you know, you're not man enough. You're not, it's like all these really toxic
But then it goes into a blaming thing, and that goes to communication, I think.
Or internalized insecurity.
Or feeling inept.
When it's like, well, wait a minute, he's not a robot. What do you expect? Like, there are going to be times where the blood flow just doesn't happen. Now, women, we are okay with that for ourselves because we've been much more accustomed to dealing with hormonal issues, with environmental factors.
You guys
talk about it all the time.
Do you see your doctor, the OBGYN twice a year?
Very often. And
yes, and I will share. So Rob tells everybody that to make their marriage better, they need to go get that cream I put under my arm, which is testosterone cream. But it totally changed my libido.
Game changer.
In a way that I didn't, it probably for 10 years, like we were still intimate, but it wasn't like I was begging him for it. And so it's chemical. It's not, there was nothing wrong with us. It was, my body wasn't making the chemicals it was supposed to be making.
Well, and I love that you bring up that option for people because a lot of times, almost every time that somebody comes in and they're talking about having low desire, it might be something, not often, but it might be something that is medical. More often than not, it's something that's more relational or psychological.
Oh, that's true.
But there are so few, it's so upsetting how few options there are for women to get medical help for low desire. And we call it hypoactive desire disorder. And what's out there right now that actually I've worked with the company, not worked with them, but I've gotten to know them really well. It's called Addyi, Addyi, and it's like the only, regulated, approved, all of that option in pill form to help women who are premenopausal, who experience low desire that is not caused by relational issues or psychological issues. So it's great to have options like testosterone. Of course, not everybody can take testosterone.
No, it's true. You're right.
Ask your medical
like for
professional
me,
first, sure.
yes. And then
it's a game changer, and how wonderful.
But I also think that when you're more rested, then you're also more amorous. When you're not as cranky and irritable, then you can not be as frustrated in life. So it wasn't just an issue of sexuality. It was all those things tied up together.
That, and you wanted to, because there were a lot of people who come in, and I always, especially women, they'll come in and say, I want to have sex. And that's when my heart breaks, because I'm like, gosh, I work with a lot of people who are like, stay away, or because of this, I just don't feel anything for him, or I don't feel anything for her. But the women and men who really want to, they're the ones that I'm like, okay, let's figure this out, because if you want to have sex with your partner and you want to stay together forever and really enjoy each other and experience the pleasures that really only the two of you can do together, if you can't get that, then divorce is imminent, or cheating. And it's really sad. There are a lot of couples out there who will then start to think about maybe opening their relationship.
Oh yeah, didn't you read a statistic? Yeah, ask her about this statistic.
There was an article in the Wall Street Journal last week that consensual polyamorous relationships are 23% of the relationships out there, which is equal to the amount of people that have bachelor's degrees in the United States.
Wow.
And I thought that was a big number.
Do you think 23% of your patients?
No, definitely not. I would say it's a lot fewer that come to see me. Actually, usually when couples are coming to see me, it's not because of any issues with their open relationship, because they tend to talk a lot.
If you have an open, you're right. Oh, that's okay. That's right.
But I also read I presented on this topic last week on Fox, and the other piece of it is that only about 8%, the stats are, that only about 8% of open relationships feel like they're successful. So it is a very difficult,
slippery slope.
Very slippery slope. It's not that it's not a good option. It's just a very difficult, challenging, complex option. So yeah, open.
That's what I've also said this about him, is as long as I would be jealous if he was with someone else, he's my guy. And I think that's a perspective of looking at it, because again,
father-in-law, mother-in-law, we are not having a polyamorous relationship, okay?
Oh God, like I have any time. When would that be? I mean,
and as I tell everybody, you think I could afford a second one?
Well, money comes up a lot.
Right?
That's one of the things.
Money, time, like
money, time. What if somebody finds out and you don't want to share that you're open? Somebody might think that you're cheating and you're not. What if the kids find out and you don't
and then they feel like
what's going on there? It's a lot to it. But yeah, it's funny that y'all talked about that, because I think a lot of people think, well, the answer is to open. No. You have to have compersion. So compersion is the opposite of jealousy. It's when you say, I feel such
joy that you're happy.
That you're experiencing pleasure with someone else. And like, that makes me feel happy for you. It's like an altruistic kind of feeling. And some people really like that. For instance.
Okay.
If I see that you're dominating in your field, and I'm like, yes,
I'm so proud of you.
I'm so proud of you. Somebody else might be like, ooh, that Donae, I'm so jealous of her.
Okay.
It's that sort of thing, but when it comes to sex and love.
Okay. So something else I read about was, because my mom basically said, no sex before you're married. And that's not the way we're raising our daughter. And I said, I think you need to consider, before you ever have an intimate relationship with someone, that you will be emotionally connected to them. And there are studies that show that women become more emotionally connected with men after they have sex with them. And it doesn't happen in men. Do you believe in those studies? Is that proven?
Yeah, I don't
Is
think
that
it's a
more an
black and
emotional
white.
thing?
I don't think it's a male or female.
Oh, it isn't?
I think
Okay.
It's more about how you perceive and how you're taught to feel about sexual intimacy.
Okay.
Because if you see it as an activity, well, then going to our favorite restaurant with your best friend isn't a problem. But if you see it as an experience that you're both sharing, then, well, I can't believe you went to our restaurant with your best friend. That's our place, that sort of thing.
That's a great way to
describe
describe
it.
it.
Of times in our society, I think men are socialized to see it as an activity, a conquest, this idea that like the more partners you have, the better. Whereas with women, again, with us living in our society and in our country's history, we're not encouraged. We're not sexual experiences aren't promoted, and of course, a lot of that has to do with control and power and all of that. But it still is the case. We don't really ever talk about male promiscuity versus women promiscuity, and it's still it's a political issue. It can be an issue in relationships, but you have to decide for yourself, what does sex really mean? Is it everything? Talk to a sexual assault survivor. You don't want them to think that all they are is their sexuality. I mean, now we're getting deeper, right? I mean, that's what happens,
but I'm a huge advocate for victims of trafficking, and I've
so if you're telling
felt
them,
like, and I've
you're more
helped.
than this,
yes,
right?
and I've become really passionate about helping people that have been victims of sexual assault otherwise, and so I think it's a hard thing when you involve trauma with it too, and then it changes the way you perceive it when you add your faith to the journey, when you add your traditions of your heritage to the, and then someone else is coming from a different place, like you're saying, that it's almost like we're understanding each other's languages.
It's very difficult to do that, and I think a lot of couples don't, even couples who've been together for a long time, they've never even really defined or shared what sex means to them and why it's so important, or what the messages were growing up. Again, I encourage people to talk about that. These are discussion questions in my book, things to consider, because it could be that just opening up about why intimacy in that way is important to you changes everything.
That it's not,
feel,
yes, and that's what I wanted it to be for our daughter, was that we could have conversations about it without shame, but we would still know that it was something special or something that had meaning. So when yes,
it carries weight to it.
Yes, it's not right.
To it. Yeah.
And so it's been different to have that sort of journey in our life, but it's still, we don't talk. She doesn't like it if Rob makes a comment, even about thinking I'm attractive or that he wants to kiss me. She's like,
No, that's why I made it clear. We've had it once. We have a beautiful daughter.
She's 16.
Oh, okay. Well,
let's talk about that. Like with teenagers.
I have a teenage daughter as well, and I, of course, am that person who is.
Is she like, my mom's a sex therapist?
I hope she's proud of me outside of the home, but she's one of those people who's like, I don't want to hear it. I know all about this. I've talked to this person. I've read this book. She will do that, and she doesn't need to hear it from me. And I'm just like, but I'm the one who has all the information.
God, that is.
I'm actually trying to give it to you, and she's like, no, I'm good. Like, oh God, like, people pay you to do that. Okay, I'm not paying you. Like, I don't, so. That's a little tough. And then we have our son who's just like, what does this mean? And what does this mean?
Okay.
And how old is he?
He's 12.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but my husband and I, when we re-met, because we actually were each other's first loves, first kiss, and all that in middle school in 6th and 7th grade. But we were apart for 10 years, had our own lives, a whole other world. And then came back together, and we eloped 6 months later. He knew me the second time around. I was already a relationship and sex therapist.
Okay.
He's been used to this. He's like, oh, this is just how it is.
This is our life.
And so he knew going into like having children that I would be that person. He's like, I'm going to give you more information than you even know what to do. I don't want you to go online to get any information.
Right.
That's the worst.
It is.
And I saw when I was delving on your website, you do counseling.
Yes.
Then you have remote counseling and other. I didn't
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I know. I'm trying. I just, having been on a national TV show, there's this reach that I really love and I cherish, but it's very difficult. So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in Texas, California, Florida, and New York. That's where most of my clients came from. But there are people in every other place that are also reaching out and wanting help. So that's why I got the book out.
Yes.
I'm getting a companion course for it. The audiobook is coming out, ebook. And also, Vivid Relationships is a whole other field that department of what I'm doing that is more consultation and just like help and tips that aren't they don't constitute coaching or therapy. So that's what I'm kind of focusing on this year the most. And I've been working with a lot of singles who are looking for matchmaking help. And basically, it's a non-traditional program where I help singles really figure out who they are so that they know who they should be looking for.
Well, I think it's hard. I just went away this weekend. We did as couples with one of my girlfriends that I've known since 1986. And we are sisters. We've been through so much together, but people change so much. Like, how are you? I think about, I also joke about, I love to dance. I was even did a Dancing with the Stars, and I was on drill team and all that. So something on my checklist of dating a man when I was in my high school and college years was that he could dance. And Rob has a very funny sense of dancing, but he makes everyone laugh and the girls love him and he's fun to be around on the dance floor. But like, had I chosen someone then, like the things that we looked at, was just, right? So you think like, how could your family members, you love them, but you don't always like them. How can your spouse be all that? How can you connect with them? How can you grow through it? So,
I
tell us
I decided a long time ago that I was not decided long ago that I wasn't going to try to set up people that I know. Because we forget that who somebody is as a friend or a colleague or as a relative is not who they are as a romantic partner.
Yeah.
I have some friends that want to be set up with Donae's friends, and I'm just like, look, dude, I know how you are.
I can't vouch for people as a romantic partner.
We can talk business, and I trust you in this field that they're in. I'm just not going out with my wife's friends. No, it's just not going to happen.
That's smart.
I won't mention the names, but you know who you are.
That's smart. Because I think a lot of people think, oh, well, he's a nice guy, and oh my gosh, he's always so pleasant, and he's funny, and and then as a partner, he could be insecure, jealous, bad sleeper. I mean, you just never know.
Polyamorous.
Without
consent. Exactly.
Non-consensually, yes.
Yeah, you just never know. So I think part of being a part of Vivid Relationships is being open to saying, I don't know what I don't know. And maybe what I'm looking for isn't actually setting me up for a long-term relationship. The easiest example of people looking for the wrong thing is when I hear women who say, I want maybe a millionaire or high earning six figures, who looks great and works out and is always healthy. Okay, so
they want my husband.
Yeah, our husbands are taken. But what I tell them is like, okay, what you're asking for, what does that look like? That ends up looking like somebody who is working nonstop.
Yeah, a workaholic that's completely focused on their body. And so if you gain weight and you don't look right, he's probably looking at the younger girl next to you, girl.
But
sometimes, I'm stereotyping, yes.
Well, and they just might not have the time for you to have a six pack, over 20, and to have
that commitment,
millions of dollars.
What are you committed to? What do your choices? How do your choices align with my choices? And I know this might sound like a crazy thing to even say, and people are surprised when I say it, but we have had hard times and ups and downs, but literally there were...
You're talking about us?
Yes.
Okay.
But a few years ago, probably even pre-COVID, like I just thought, and I'm giving him a total scapegoat now, but I trust him enough. No matter what happens, I'm never leaving him. Like there were moments that I was like, oh, he's pissed me off. But then I really was like, what would it be like to not be with him? And I think when you decide that you are committed to something, anything, and you set aside if it's not abusive. I'm not saying
yes, there are
he couldn't
exceptions
hit me and my daughter, like whatever, but I trust that because I know him and I know his anger doesn't take him there, you know? And when you make that decision, then you can let go because you're like, what's this fight going to matter?
Everything
How am
else
I
is
going
manageable.
to, why am I going to dig in on this and make a big fuss and go to bed mad and lose my sleep when he's my person and I'm going to be with him forever?
I agree. I think a lot of times.
So there is something to that
picking your
true
battles,
decision to be in it for the long haul, because I think so many people have a toe in and a toe out.
Well, and there's this fear of missing out. Well, what if someone else is better at this? What if someone else doesn't raise the volume as much every time, we're fighting? What if someone else doesn't? That's what therapy is for, guys. Like, so many times I'm like, why did they go to therapy before they divorced? No. Why not?
Or my favorite is, he's my best friend. I just can't be married to him. And maybe that's because they're not intimate.
That's exactly why.
Maybe that's what that is. Because I'm like, if he's your best friend and you like hanging out with him, why would you not be with him?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's part of the work of being in a relationship, is making sure that you are looking at your partner's attractive traits. We can always break each other down. We can always find the worst in each other. Any given day, I'm sure my husband could pick me apart a million different ways, but the choice is not to, because that's not an investment in longevity. Marital longevity is something that I think a lot of people think that they're working to, but it isn't until they're in therapy and I'm like, okay, what are you doing? Are you doing this? No, well, we go on date nights. That's great. So what do you do on date? Well, we go to our favorite restaurant. Okay, what are you talking about, the kids? That's great. I'm excited that y'all even do that. Some people don't even do that, but that's not a real investment. What do you do on the side to bring something to talk about at the dinner table at date night? Do y'all do anything different? Are you autonomous? Do you have different passions and dreams? Do you have different interests to talk about?
And do your passions affect the relationship poorly? Are you bringing the family, is what you love to do costing something that you can't afford in your budget?
Right.
Is what you do destructive to the trust value of the relationship? Or is what you do just filling you up so you can be whole for the rest of the year and the other person needs to accept it?
And therapy. It's great. You guys are very comfortable as women talking about therapy. As a man, it's not easy for us to suck it up and come in to have therapy. And we've gone through a lot of it, not only for our emotions, but for family emotions and other issues. And I look at it now as a tune-up.
Absolutely.
And
maintenance.
I come in and we've got a referee that is unbiased and we can, this is this. Here's where we're having issues. What do you see as an outsider, and not who's right and who's wrong, but how do we get past this? How do we make it work? And I might almost enjoy it when I go. I would never admit that because then I would be, showing weakness, but it really does help.
I know, and not my clients, but I can tell you that is a real common thing, is that a lot of times men will worry, they're going to gang up on me.
Yes.
Nobody comes to see me for years at a time because I'm ganging up on them. That's not the way it works. A true professional, which is why you need to go to a licensed marriage and family therapist. We have extensive training in not doing that. That's what you can go to a friend for, right? I always tell them, I'm like, look, come in once, give me your side, whatever that might be, and let's see. When they come in, they realize, this is not anything like what I thought it was going to be. And then before you know it, they're scheduling their own sessions because they enjoy it so much. And now, like, can we talk about work? Can we talk about... Yes, absolutely. But I think therapy is still very underused. It's not normalized as much as I would love for it to be, and much less so sex therapy. I wrote about this in my book as well. I know that sex is the top reason, but it's not always the one that people talk about. Because a lot of people will get judged if they're like, well, we weren't having sex. Well, that's not a good enough to leave. That's not a good enough reason.
Divorce.
And they divorce over it, but they don't want to say that. So they'll say, we had financial issues. We had conflict resolution issues. We were fighting over.
But that's what led to not having sex.
Exactly.
And you let it take over and lead to not having intimacy in your marriage. Completely.
So I'm a big fan of just do a maintenance session once every 3 months. My clients, I tend to never say that, like, of course, as therapists, we're like, the best thing is if you can fire us. that's not true. I want you to come back every 3 months because I
Right.
want you to
There's
come back
gonna be-
every time there's like a huge destructive issue. Just come in once every 3 months. And even if you think, oh, we don't really have anything to talk about, there's always something to talk about. Whether it's how to support each other, how to improve, even if it's just to share what's going really well. Oh, we tried this new thing and now we're doing this, and it can be sexual or otherwise. But brag on each other. Sometimes I'll just be like, tell me what he's done awesome this month. Oh, okay. You know.
Sometimes just naming what fills you up and what makes you feel good, or when you feel joy, like noticing that moment. And I think that could be then true for this too. Like what's great about your partner? What is it? And then reminding
Was that your 14
yourself.
days you're going to start doing?
Yeah, I said it was 14 days of saying why I love Rob.
Aw,
I was
the
starting
14
that
days of
today.
Valentine's Day?
Yeah. Well, I'm starting it today, so I guess it's not.
I'm
It's
gonna
more
get
than
16 days.
14.
I'll get
He's going to
16
get
days.
16 days.
Credit.
Exactly.
That's
But this
awesome.
is a big step that we could sit and talk about sex openly. Do you have any other? Because I know you need to go. You have a million things going on. We're going to do a giveaway.
Yes,
So exciting.
giveaway.
A
That's
little
really
Tiffany
exciting.
for you, a little Tiffany for our followers.
It's so special. I love everything with hearts. Obviously, it's my jam.
It is.
Yeah,
It's your emoji.
I think just reminding people that
Mm-hmm.
there's always a way to get help.
Mhm.
If it's a $19 book or following on Dr. Viviana, spell out Dr. Viviana.
Mm-hmm.
Follow me online. I try to give as much free information out
And there's
there.
a ton of YouTube on there. You've done a lot of YouTubes.
Yeah, I really try. I'm like, look, I'm out there. I'm talking about this. I know I'm never going to be able to get to see every couple that wants to see me or that I would like to work with. So that's my way of kind of giving back and giving these top tips. And it's easy and it's not confrontational.
And
right?
your book is on Amazon also.
It's everywhere. Yeah. But drviviana.com. All the proceeds go to me. So let's do that.
Exactly. Then
Yes.
she could come shop
Yes,
more
we
with
don't
us.
need the A word. You're right. I didn't mean to say that. Sorry, Bezos.
She's like, which A word?
I was like, what a word. You never know with Rob. Any party
I
comments?
No, Rob. What
Yeah.
questions do you have?
Yeah.
What question about sex are you, or maybe asking for a friend?
I love it.
It's a very interesting topic. And
How about I have a question for you?
Oh, good.
Okay. Is there any sexual activity that maybe she's brought up or someone has brought up that you thought, I don't know enough about it, but I mean, I guess I should learn more about it. Is there a topic out there that you're like, I wonder why people like that? And how maybe y'all aren't doing it, but you wonder why people like doing it?
Rob has heard of almost every topic that is that anyone brings up. I don't know anything. He's like, here, baby, let me tell you about this.
I've had a great time talking with you here. And
I
I'm
think
going to
he's
be very
pretty red.
political.
Is he? Are you kidding?
Wow.
That one was for Donae over there.
Yay! She got you. He's thinking of
But you know
things.
what that means is there's lots going on in there.
Oh, we know how much there is going on in there.
And you know what? We will have her back on the couch in 6 months, and we'll have a talk with her then and see how things are going. Or maybe even after we do our giveaway.
It'll be fun.
But yes, you got me to shut up. You got me to be speechless for once in my life.
Yes,
Maybe the second
love it.
time.
Well,
Yes.
for a lot of people, there are a lot of terms out there that people throw out that have to do with sexuality that they just don't
Know what it
what's
means.
going
I
on.
know.
And just like with dating terms or sexual terms, one of the ones that tends to come up really often in my office is pegging.
I don't know that.
Pegging is? Oh, he's pretending he doesn't know. Okay.
I've never looked at an Urban Dictionary. No, nothing.
So, and a lot of people think, well, like pegging, so what it is, it's when a heterosexual male is penetrated with either a toy or a dildo or finger, not finger, it's usually something that looks like a phallus, to anally, so anal intercourse. But they are heterosexual, so it's not something that they're doing because they want to be with a man. It's just that they enjoy the feeling of
Of that.
penetration.
Okay.
Prostate milking is something that happens in hospitals all the time. Prostate milking is something that a lot of men do to experience a really intense orgasm in a very natural way by using something, either an accessory or their finger or something to, and it's inserted into the rectum, and then you kind of palpate the prostate, and it's like a really intense ejaculation. So for a woman or for their partner, usually a woman who does not own a phallus, is able to then experience and give that pleasure to the men. They're like, awesome. So in 6 months, I'll check and see how it went.
Wow, that's...
Yep, guys, on Wacky Watch Wednesday, we talk nipple dials. We got a whole new thing. Maybe we'll talk about peg dials.
Ooh.
All right.
I think we'll wrap up on that one.
We're wrapping up now, Dr. V. Love you.
Goes that way.
Exactly.
No.
So good. No, I love it. It's so good.
There's so much out there to explore that is totally within the realm of consent. Safe. It's saying it's consensual. And I think a lot of couples just think, well, we just do this one thing. If you want to be together forever, explore a few other things. You don't have to go rocky road, but you can do like friendship.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I like that. So cool. Okay, good. All right. Happy Valentine's Day.
See y'all.